right now. Hi, hello. Thank you for letting us speak to you. Let me just get this set up really quickly. Present. Okay. So thank you for giving us the time to come and speak to you, President. I am the PR director, and this is your VP,
Hi, I am your VP.
Joe. And so, without further ado, we will get into the situation and our recommendations. But before we do that, we want to address kind of what is happening. So, the situation. So, essentially, Jensen Products has been recognized as donating to certain PACs or political action campaigns. Um, and essentially, the people that we have supported through these PACs are not following ethical social agendas. And so, because of that, we are getting backlash from the community, specifically in North America. And so, because those campaigns we donated to are in North America. So right now, our sales are declining in North America, like I mentioned. But for the future looking, we may see those similar changes being done in Europe. Maybe given the fact that our consumers in America are taking that kind of suit, that maybe the European consumers will do the same. And like, essentially our practices here are not illegal, but the public is not responding well, and that is why our sales have been dropping, as you have noticed. So going on to just kind of more broadly, how political impacts in the U.S. are affecting world trade. So first, you can look at regulations or laws. So essentially, some of the labor laws and union laws in the U.S. make it so that certain activities and functions are performed more effectively and cheaper for companies outside of the U.S. And it's because of those political kind of decisions that those things are necessary. And so that's kind of one way you see world trade being impacted, where these goods are then going to have to be sent into America instead of them being produced in the States. And we see that with our own company, with Jensen's products, especially. And so then trade policies are another big impact. And that is one of the reasons why we have been supporting those candidates, is because of their open policies on trade and on global production and things like that. So tariffs are a huge way to reduce global trade and harm really both sides of those endeavors. And then trade disputes as well are another major factor. And that is the main reason why we have done what we have done in supporting those global trade partners and those candidates that do that. Finally, we have export financing. Well, not finally, but next we have export financing, which is essentially like government support of export production. And so that doesn't really happen in the U.S. It's more so in other countries who are looking to draw support of companies like ourselves who are expanding their market. So the market size, like we mentioned, because of those regulations outside of their host country. And then lastly is the whole changes in political parties. So how one side, like the one that we're supporting, may be supportive of world trade. The other side may be more protective of their tariffs, and so it is that kind of vulnerability and that option that these things may swing in one side that can have an impact, just like cyclically, essentially. So next, we will move on to the social and political environment.
Right. So, with the social and political environment on our world trade, the public does not support the candidates who we support the global trades and supply chain, due to the fact that they do not support the ethical social agenda that the public is wanting from these candidates. Um, so, with that being said, with these issues that are not being resolved in the political environment, the volatility of the environment leads to the greater investment risk, which therefore increase our global trade. Thus, as we mentioned, that it has been declining in our sales. Some of these impacts might come from the European sales on our market. Um, that includes in our global trade that we have with Europe. Um, since we do have a very strong um, sales present in that area, um, that is one with our supportment towards the candidate that does not support the ethical agenda, we 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 may have to think on what we should do um, towards the PAC contribution, which will continue onto the next slide.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I just wanted to add, um, essentially, the public isn't against us supporting those who support global trade. They're against those candidates because they are not supporting ethical social agendas. So it just so happens that a lot of the candidates that support global trade are not supporting those agendas, and thus the social environment is turned against them. And that is why, us supporting those candidates is putting us in a bad place, even though supporting those candidates helps ourselves financially, just like Joe was saying. So,
Right.
sorry, did you have anything to add?
No, that's pretty much it. So continuing on to the social environmental that we have regarding towards the public not agreeing with the candidate that we're choosing to support, um, if we could support world trade without PAC contributions by um, having an international trade increase in Europe, maybe open up a factory in Europe and have and become a we can as a Jetson product, we can have a bit become a multinational corporation and expand into either new foreign markets besides Europe, maybe through China or Africa or South America, um, that the which we can continually support the trades in those other countries and increase the production in there and increase the products that we have. Maybe invest in new factories in those new continents
Yeah, yeah.
to expand.
So essentially, since we can't directly support that, if we can't use these PAC contributions, instead we can support world trade, like literally by going to countries that maybe are, maybe their infrastructure is different or lacking, and supporting things in that way. So kind of doing a more like direct approach to supporting world trade and supporting supply chain management, just because it is such an imperative thing that our company must address. So that's just a few ways, like you mentioned. Opening that factory in Europe might it would reduce our reliance on having that stable world trade, because we would then have this new market and this new production facility in Europe. So it would kind of give us some leeway in that situation.
Right.
And then moving on, we're going to be looking at some of the risks involved in supporting or not supporting the PACs. So I'll be talking about keeping them as we currently have them. So, initially, as we are seeing right now, there will be probably further decline in sales just because of the political climate and the social climate. And then also our brand images may be further impacted just because the continued exposure may spread the negative impacts of our support for these packs. So further brands of ours may be tainted, as well as the fact that now that these people are aware and angry about our support, they may be more likely to vote against the candidates we are choosing to um, provide donations for. So we may need to spend more money in these packs to get them elected, and then there's still that chance at the end of the day that they are not elected and they lose. So we are possibly spending more money on the packs to get a less or even not a result that we are desiring.
Right. So, continue on that to more so. If we were to stop PACs, it would definitely decrease support of supply chain, especially with the candidate. If we were to donate to candidates that does not support international trades and supply chain management, which can cause operational risk and cause that supply chain management that we have to be less efficient and more slower that we have currently. Um, and another thing is that if we donate to if we stop donating to the candidates that are supporting what we are hoping for, which is international trade, it could cause a compliance risk on decreasing the trades internationally with other companies in Europe and the consumers that we have in Europe. And on top of that, there might be more tariffs and more regulations that we will have to comply um, with U.S. and the other countries, which that does which that leads to competition risk, and competition risk is when with other um, companies that have similar products that we have in Europe, it might just increase their sales in that, and we will lose out on that sale in Europe because yeah.
Yeah, no, and that last point that Joe made is probably the most important, I would say. Just given that stopping these packs is going to increase competition of ourselves, not only in the US, but in Europe, especially where our market has been expanding. And recently we have had, lots of growth. So, reducing this foreign ability to trade and this ability to promote our products in other countries would open us up to risks of competition and just these negative things that we've already kind of played around, play around some of these issues. But opening these um, new things up might just make it a lot worse for us, and we might see some unforeseeable changes as well.
Right.
We will now get to our final recommendation. Joe, I'll let you do the honors and explain or tell them what we want to do.
All right. So currently, our recommendations is to keep on donating, but donate to candidates that support both the economic agenda and international trades plus supply chain management. We want to just show that we are not forgetting about the public. We really care about our consumers, and we hope that with doing this so that we will increase our recognition in the public and show that we do care for our consumers, and we do care that even we want to have both of the best worlds, and eventually the public will forget this about this issue in the future. um, ba- um, in the future, and we want to use the bad press that we have recently on our reports showing that we had donated to these candidates that supported international trades and supply chain, how and did not support um, ethical agendas
Yeah,
to show that we are responsible for an action, and we are trying to make a change in donating to the right candidate.
yeah. So coming in as the PR director, I think we've been trying to mitigate those risks and those damages to reputation. But I think by making a real change and by making a change to who we are donating to, we can, like Joe mentioned, keep the best of both worlds. So keep that bottom line of supporting global trade while at the same time recognizing the issues that the consumers had, and really making this change for them to show them that we are understanding and that we take into account what they say, and we want them to be happy, because at the end of the day, if they're not happy, then our product is not going to be selling, and we're not going to be making those changes to do that. So, like he said, opening that support up to candidates who support both those global trade as well as those ethical social agendas that our consumers are so for. So yeah, just using this bad press and spinning it off in a good way. I think that this would solve a lot of our issues and would allow us to continue to operate as we currently do.
Yep, and I want to add on to that, Michael, that it would definitely increase our sales, just to increase how much growth we have as a company, and show that consumers are important to us, and
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a big point. All right. So with that, I think we have the end of the presentation. So thank you for letting us speak to you, and we hope our analysis has provided you some really important feedback. and that you can use that to make your decision. So with that, we will end the presentation.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.